Hello, welcome to my channel again. Today you're going to learn how to create these windows. These two here, one is square and the other one has this round top. I'm going to teach you how to design these windows on CanvasWorkspace, how to send it to ScanNCut, of course cut it and then create the card. I'm not going to show you how to create the card itself, because the important thing here for me is to teach you how to create the windows, because this is something, it's one of those elements that we use a lot in cards. And as you know, the big advantage of ScanNCut and CanvasWorkspace is that once you have this file, you can create it and then you can just downsize it. You can make it bigger, smaller, you can multiply and duplicate it. And it's a great thing to really know, because as I just said before, we use it a lot. Just want to show you quickly the cards. I was in a mood to work with dogs today, so I thought it would be cute to have like dogs. It's like Rapunzel here without the hair, yes. And then inside I woof you. The other one is pretty much the same dogs here. I just added some green because I thought it would match the background. And inside I actually made a mistake. I stamped and it didn't look good, so I just covered it with a piece of green paper because it, you know, it looks fine. It goes with the card. But let's get into the tutorial. You're going to love it. It's actually very easy. I hope you enjoy and then you use it in your future projects. So here we are. I've already opened my brother CanvasWorkspace, and that's where I'm going to build these two windows here. This is already made, just so you know what we're going to end up with. Here on the right, I have the card size that helps me. I always have a card panel just so I know if the size of the windows or whatever I'm building is good enough, so I can just stretch it a little bit if I want maybe to make it central, or it really depends on the card that you're going to make. And that's one of the big advantages of having a file like this, is that in the future you can go back and you can stretch it as large as you want or as small as you want, depending on your project. So what I do is I usually, when I finish, I save it and then I'll have it there forever to use which way I want. Sometimes I want to make the central piece in really large like this and have a window right there. Sometimes I want to build scenery and I want maybe some plants here, some animals, it depends. But what I'm going to teach you how to create today are these two windows here, and then you just get the general idea and you can do whatever you want with these kind of files. So I'm going to put these windows here on the side. I'll actually leave it here, and I'm going to start with the square one, okay? So the first thing that you're going to do is to make sure you have the square shape. After you have that, you don't need this anymore. And of course, you're going to size it the size you want. This is too big for me. I'm just going to eyeball it, but you can always go here and make it the size you want, the width and the height. If you click here, maintain aspect ratio, what you're going to do is, if you change one size, the other one goes. So if it doesn't, well, for a square is fine, but for this one, for example, you don't want that to happen. So you just unclick it and then you can change one of them without affecting the other. So here you have the square, which is the shape I want today, and then you can resize it. I'm going to make it big just so you see well. Let me make this a little bit bigger too, just so you see perfectly what I'm doing. Okay, first thing you're going to do is you need another square. This is another square right here. The easiest way to do this is to click here on offset. It's going to give you a few options. I know that 25 works for me. It usually starts with 20 here, but 25 is better for me. Inward, you could do it outward, but that's not what you want. Inward, and since it's a square, you have the bevel here. Round, you can do, the other one I think I actually do round. but this one is bevel. Select the original line. So this is saying, okay, what are you going to do with this original line? You have the option of erasing it. You don't want to do that. Just leave it as is. Click, and you have the internal one. See, you have two. But here's the thing. I'm going to color just so you see what I'm talking about. I want you to see this is the big square. Now let's get the other one. That's the little square. You don't want to leave it like this, because what you want to do is to have this as an empty space, because later on you're going to weld this cross here. And if you leave it like this, you're not going to be able to weld. And this is for anything you're going to weld. Every time you have something like this that you're going to weld something inside, you have to cut this part and make sure that this is empty. And how do you do that? I'm going to show you now. But there is another tip that I want you to be aware of, because otherwise it won't work. You want to make sure that the small square is in front of the big square, because otherwise it will not cut. And how do you know that? What you're going to do is you make sure to click either one actually, but you can click on the big one. This is the big square. You want the big square to be behind. So what you're going to do is you click on layer, arrange, and you have to make sure that it's send backwards. Okay, send backward. Don't go to back, because back goes one by one. In this case it would work because you only have two squares, but if you have more images it wouldn't work. So just go send backward. So you know that the little one now is in front of it, and it's going to be able to cut through it. Otherwise, what would happen would be that this one would cut through the little one, which would make no sense at all, right? So what you're going to do now is to make sure that you have this empty, and you're going to cut through the big one. So what you're going to do is you have these options here on process overlap. This one is weld, and then divide. We don't want that one. Remove overlap, and subtract. That's the one you're going to click on. So you click on subtract. See, now you have a window, and that's what you need now. The next thing you're going to do is to make this X, and then you're going to weld. It's actually 3 steps. First you subtract, then you're going to make this shape here, this cross, and then you're going to weld everything. It's quite simple. So again, I'm going to need another. You can get any of these really. I usually use the rectangle, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this rectangle into like a line, one of those 2 lines. So here it is. You're just going to make it as thick as you want. I think here is okay. So that looks good, and always make sure that it overlaps a little bit. It has to be a little bit wider than the hole here. So this one is fine. I'm just going to move it here. What you're going to do is cut and paste, because you need 2, right? You need these 2 here. And you're going to, one of them, you're going to turn. Every time you want to turn something 90 degrees, make sure you hold the shift key. So you just go in 90 degrees, see, like this. So it's already okay, but you want to make sure that they are very, very much centered, one with the other, that the cross is perfect. So you're going to select both. You can do it by dragging and selecting these 2 lines, or you can just hold your shift key again, click on one, click on another, and you have both. So you're going to align here, align objects, see right here. You click on center, see it moved a little bit, and you're going to click on middle. So it's perfectly aligned right now. What you're going to do next is you can just hold and make sure that you place it overlapping. This is a little bit risky, because if you let go and you need to move again, you're going to have to select it again. What I do is to make sure that this is perfect and is going to continue perfect is you go here on layer, and you're going to group. So you know that if you want to move, it's always going to be together now. So what you're going to do is you place it wherever you want, because we're going to do the same thing. We're going to select everything here, going to center and middle, so you know that it's perfectly aligned. See, it's ready. All you need to do now is to weld it. So to make this a just one object. So next thing you're going to do, select everything. So you have all these two lines selected and the square, and you're going to weld it together. And there you have it. You have your window. It's easy, isn't it? So just recapping, you're going to build inwards. Remember, you're going to have two squares, and then you're going to make this cross and weld it. I'm going to make let me show you where it is. And just so you see that that's why I have it in color. It makes it easier to see. I'm just going to use the same color. So there you are. You have your window. And again, that's the great advantage of CanvasWorkspace and working with ScanNCut, because now you have a window for whichever size you want, as little as this, as large as this, and it depends on what you're going to make. This one was much thicker, as you see, so it depends on what you want to do. I like the thick windows like this one, so let's build the second one here. It's the same principle. What you're going to do is go here back on shapes. You have a shape that is perfect for that. Let me see where I found it. This one. There you go. So get this out of here so it's easier. So you have this shape here. Again, we're going to hold shift, the shift key, so it goes 90 degrees. You're going to rotate it. So you have the base, which is this outline here. Again, the advantage of having the card base always here is that you see that it's big, right? So maybe a little bit smaller than that. Maybe this size will be okay. Yeah, it depends. The other one is much smaller, but I want to make it big so it's easier for you to see. We're going to do the same thing. We need the inside window. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go here to offset. You're going to create an offset. 25 is fine for me. Inward again. This one I'm going to make round. And there you go. There you have it. Perfect, right? So let me show you again the tip that I gave you before. Let's make this brown. The inside one will be orange. So again, you have to make sure that the big one is behind so this can cut through it. You can't cut through something that's not behind you, right? So if you think about a piece of paper, if you want to cut this small piece through a paper, the paper has to be behind it. So that's how it's easy for me to remember. If it was a piece of paper, it would need to be behind it. Or even if you think about a paper punch, same thing. It has to be underneath whatever you want to cut through, right? So you're going to click here, go to layer, arrange, send backward. So again, now we make sure that when we select both and we come here to subtract, it subtracts it. It cuts through the paper, let's say. So this is fine now. I like it the way it is. We're going to build again. Let's get, it can be any shape really, as long as you can just make it thinner. So you want to make sure that it overlaps again, but not as much. It has to be inside overlapping. This is a bit too thick for me, so I'm just going to make it a little bit there. I think this is good. We're going to copy and paste. Hold the shift key so it goes 90 degrees. There you go. We want to make sure that they align properly. We're going to move this here. We're going to select both. Here on align, you click on middle and center. It's perfectly aligned. Again, I'm going to group it because I want to make sure. Let me give it some color just so you see. this color here. So you bring this, and you see that this one is a little bit too small, so I forgot to do that, so I'm going to ungroup it, which is good because then you see how to do it. Layer, ungroup, because I want to make sure that this one is taller. It has to be taller. Make sure. I think this should be okay. A little bit thinner to be just like the other one. Okay. So you can click on it, or you can do what I did to center it, but I know that it's already well positioned. There you go. This should be okay. Make sure that every corner overlaps, because that's how you weld it. Going to click on everything and weld. And there you have it. You have your two windows. See, these two are very different, but it depends on the size that you want. If you want to make it wider, I can make it look a little bit more like that one, depended on where I position. See, but that's the good thing. After you have the file, you just change it the way you want. You can change the size, anything you want. So here you are. Now you know how to make two windows, how to create these two windows. You have the file. Next thing you do is just save as. I already have it called card window. Save it wherever you want, and there you have it. You have the perfect windows for your card projects or anything. Actually, the other day I made a box, and I created windows on the sides of the box, so you could see through the box, through the window, and see the present. So you can do whatever you want with this. Now you know how to make it. So here we are on ScanNCut. It's saying that I have an update available. I am going to ignore it. I'm going to retrieve my file. Click in here because I sent it through Wi-Fi. And here it is. I'm just going to move around a little bit, but not much. I think maybe a little closer so I can get some. I have a 12 by 12 paper here. Just want to make sure I can have this for something else. So there we are. I think it looks good. I'm just going to say click. Yeah, okay. We're going to cut. Start. I never test for some reason. So here it is. Let me show you. The machine is doing its magic. It started. It's funny how sometimes it starts by the middle, and that's what it's doing right now. So it's going to start cutting all of them. And I'm going to come back when everything is done and over, okay? So it's cutting the little squares first, and then it's going to do the outline. See? There you are. Now you can already see a little bit. See, it looks perfect. I'm going to come back when it's done. So here is the final file. We're just going to remove it and show you the final product. Here it is. That's one of the windows, and here is another one. They are perfect. I had some red ones. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some white ones and just glue them to each other and use this as the front. And there you have it. It's very, very easy to make. I have 3. They're absolutely the same. See, and that's how I do it. I sand and I cut as many as I want, just so it's thick like this and it stands out on the paper, and I just glue them together so it's not as thin as just one. I mean, you can use just one, but I usually don't. Let me get the other one for you to see. Same thing, I just glue them together like this so it's a little bit thicker. See? Perfect windows. I hope you have enjoyed the video and you had fun, and just use the techniques I used and I taught you to make, to create other objects for your cards and your paper projects. And here they are again, just another look, because I think it's good when you learn how to create something and you go, I don't want to go to the beginning. I just wanted to show you again. Here are the 2 windows that we created and cut. They really are very versatile, and you can, as I said before, you can make it the size you want for the project you need. Thank you so much for being here with me today, and I hope I'll see you soon.